What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Thursday, December 15th, 2022. I'm your host, Sean Murphy, and today we got to talk about that game that happened last night, man. That best win of the season, that overtime thriller in Charlotte, that Killian Hayes, Alec Burks offensive display. Holy, that was awesome, man. I mean, I know a lot of you might not have tuned in because looking at that game, the Charlotte Hornets and Detroit Pistons, both of them being at the bottom of the standings in the Eastern Conference, when you're looking at games on the schedule and the slate of the NBA, this isn't exactly the one that brings eyeballs and says, wow, this is exciting. However, there was still a lot of reasons for the Detroit Pistons to play and a lot of reasons that they wanted this win. You could tell that they were especially motivated coming off of their last loss, but also off of the news of Cade Cunningham being out for the season. It seemed like there was a little bit more certainty and a little bit more clarity that they were able to play with. But in addition, it looks like they were just going out to attack. And it looks like they weren't afraid of the team that was across them. And the thing that was really impressive, I know we've talked a good amount about Killian's transformation and what he's been doing, but Killian has been killing it over the last couple of weeks. And in my opinion, last night was the best game of Killian Hayes' career, which is a statement that we've been saying quite a bit over the past couple of weeks. But this performance in particular last night, 25 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, nearing a triple double. But a lot of those points came in the clutch. When the Pistons needed a bucket, they didn't turn to Jaden Ivey. They didn't turn to Isaiah Stewart. They turned to Killian Hayes. They turned to Alec Burks. Bojan took the last shot at the end of the game. In my opinion, I think Killian probably deserved that shot because of how he was shooting at the time. However, I understand Bojan being Bojan, but at the same time, Killian was able to get that chance later in overtime, and he nailed it. And it's just been fun to watch. I mean, when you talk about everything that this kid's been going through over the past couple seasons, what people have been saying about him, and it's really frustrating because if you look at the overall statistics, like his overall averages, like there's still those games, that you're gonna have from Killian once in a while, like for every game that he goes out and has like this, or he scores in double digits, which he's been doing quite a bit of late. He has a lot of games where he scored 5 points or 6 points or 2 points, which a lot of those came at the beginning of the season. However, really ever since November 9th, Killian's been a different player. And over the past 2 weeks, Killian's been averaging nearly 14 points a game. He's been shooting 38% from beyond the arc, 45% from the field. Killian's been, averaging 7.7 assists, a steal and a half a game. This guy's affecting both ends of the court. He's taking care of the basketball. He's distributing it confidently. He's scoring when you need to, like when you need him to, and he's not afraid to take shots. Like he has a mid-range game. He has a perimeter game. He's still not the greatest when it comes to like driving to the basket, but he at times has shown the ability to have touch when he's going to the rim and has a floater. He's really shifty with his ball handling. This is a completely different guy than even last season. This is a completely different guy that started this, like, than the guy who started the season. This is the guy that we saw like the flashes in the preseason of what he could do. This is it. And it's been really impressive. Like I'm at the point where I don't want to put a ceiling on it anymore because obviously we saw like at the beginning of the year, like a lot of things to be concerned about. And a lot of people wrote him off. A lot of the same people that are championing Killian Hayes right now, a lot of them wrote him off. I'm not gonna lie, I got to a point where I was about ready to write him off. And I wrote an article saying that the Pistons had a Killian Hayes problem. I didn't say, that they needed to get rid of him. I didn't say that, he needed to be benched, but I said that he was a problem. If he keeps playing like this, he's going to be far from a problem. 14 points and 7 assists is phenomenal numbers from a point guard. And a lot of people were having a conversation on Twitter talking about Are we gonna have a conversation about how Killian's playing better than Jaden Ivey? Which I'm like, guys, first of all, we're making the same mistake we made with Killian Hayes literally just a couple weeks ago or over the past couple of years. We're making a definitive judgment about a player when there's so, so few games into their career. I mean, Killian Hayes, the reason why he's been looking so good, the reason why things have looked different, and he said himself, a light bulb clicked. A flip was switched, and you can see from that point on that Killian's clearly been a different player. I mean, if you look at his basketball reference page, let me pull it up right now. I can even show you. So this was Killian Hayes at the beginning of the season, right? Right up here, it shows everything that he was doing as far as, like how his performances were going. And it was a disaster, like 3 points, 1 point, 5 points, 0 points, 5 points, all bad, right? Right here, November 9th. From here on out, a completely different player. Obviously, there's still the times where he only has a few points, but he's almost a completely different guy. And you can just see the confidence. Like, even when he's not scoring, he's still having an effect on the game now. Like, his passing is crisper, his decision making is more timely. Like, you can just tell that he now understands where he can have a presence in the NBA game. And at the very least, he understands spots that he can get to. He understands spots that he can execute from. He understands that he's worked on his shot and he's now at a point where he just realizes he just has to make the decision if he's going to pull the trigger. And the thing is that he also is realizing that what makes him a better playmaker is when he's more of a threat and more of a danger to score the basketball as well. And with killing his shiftiness, with his athleticism, with his build, with everything that he's doing, man, this is the guy that Pistons fans, were envisioning. Like what Killian did last night was the absolute like peak of like what he can be, right? And to expect him to do that on a regular basis is just not realistic. It's just not attainable. It's just not going to happen. But what is realistic is these averages. Like if Killian, like he right now, like I said, over the last couple weeks, like 13-7. If he averages 15-7, and that's if whether that's a starter, whether that's a backup, you take that from your point guard all the time, especially with the defensive stats you're getting as well, with the defensive effort that you're getting, with the versatility, with his switchability, with everything that he brings on both sides of the court. He can be a general, he can be a leader. And Dwayne Casey's talked about like we want him to be the quarterback. We want him to be the point guard. We want him to be the floor general. And that's what Killian looks like. I know like when you see a guy like, that's left-handed and doing the dribble moves that he's doing, and he's like trying to hit step backs and, going side to side, and, that similar shiftiness in his isolation game. I know a lot of people are going to look at James Harden. It's just not, it's not. I really like the original comparison that Troy Weaver made when he drafted Killian, which was Goran Dragic. And people forget Goran Dragic in Phoenix. Goran Dragic, his early days in Miami, was a really shifty player, was a really crafty scorer, was a really good playmaker, was just a guy that went out and hooped. He never had the opportunity to really do it outside of Miami on a winning team, especially like in Miami when he did, he wasn't really in his prime either. Like if he actually had the opportunity when he was actually a really good basketball player, I feel like he could have actually done more, but that's a whole other conversation that happens to a lot of guys in this league. But the ultimate point is that if Killian has the opportunity to do this with Cade healthy, if they have the opportunity, if they have the ability, if Ivy, continues to develop a shot, if Cade gets better with his shot, a 3-guard lineup with Killian, Ivy, and Cade looks inherently more interesting. And then you talk about what could potentially happen in the lottery, and you throw out the fact that there could be a Killian, Cade, Ivy, Wembanyama, Duran lineup, and holy, that makes me terrified for the rest of the league. But we're not going to talk about that because we're not going to get our hopes up on Wembanyama on this channel. We have definitively said that, damn it. But anyway, let's talk about what else is going on in the Pistons world. And that is the trade deadline, the other looming thing the other big storyline, because to me, the three big storylines of the season, there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly. Like, there's the good, which is, you know, the resurgence of Killian Hayes, the play of our rookies, the overall competitiveness of our team of late, the fact that, we are, starting to show some foundations, the bad, the Cade Cunningham injury, all the injuries that we've dealt with in general, but now Cade being out for the rest of the season, the ugly, everything is to happen on the defensive end, the fact that the Pistons are going to be, at the top of the lottery once again. And with that, you kind of have to figure out what you're going to do at the trade deadline. Are you going to position yourself, to have more assets in this upcoming draft and in this upcoming summer, when you have that building of cap space, when you have, another potential high lottery pick coming in this summer, when you have, the opportunity to, maybe even move some of those assets and get a star instead. Like, there's a lot of different avenues that Detroit could go. And there's a few different names that are being discussed in the trade market for them. And the first in the biggest name that's being mentioned outside of Detroit, and the one that's garnering the most interest, is Bojan Bogdanovic. And reportedly, the Lakers have offered Patrick Beverley's salary and then a protected first round pick. And the Pistons are reluctant to take that offer. Troy Weaver reportedly really loves, Bojan and what he's bringing to the team. Reportedly, the players really respect him, and they're able to have that type of relationship where they're able to get a lot of, where they're able to get a lot of information, from him and learn how to play the game from him. So I think that's like something that's, like huge. And when you think about like what he can bring when this team turns a corner next year, like let's say like Bojan is even like at a point in his career where like you bring him off the bench, he's like in his mid 30s and like he's just like a shooter off your bench. Like where are you going to find a better shooter than that in the league? That's all I'm saying. But anyway, another guy that's being thrown out with trade reports and trade rumors is reportedly Sadiq Bey. And a lot of people have been talking about like what potentially that asking price could be, like what in the world, would be the value of Sadiq Bey. And, like we don't really know like what the actual value would be, like if a trade were to go down, like what would be exchanged. However, according to Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports, their lead NBA reporter, NBA rivals are telling him that the Pistons are asking for a unprotected first round pick for Sadiq Bey, which if they were to get an unprotected first round pick, it'd probably be from a team, that you'd probably want to get it from a team that isn't going to be very good. You'd probably want to give it from a team that doesn't have the greatest prospects going forward, a team that you probably aren't taking the greatest bet on. But on the other hand, if you're giving them Sadiq Bey, you are going to inherently make that team better. It's interesting because you talk about like, where guys are fitting and how things are shaking out in this, in this rebuild. And I think if anything, Bojan has highlighted the inconsistencies in Sadiq's game. It's highlighted the flaws in the things that he needs to do better and the ways that, Sadiq isn't consistent enough at this time. And the percentages that he's shooting at right now are not going to stay the same. They're going to get better. And ultimately, if I were Troy Weaver, I would hold off, at least for the season on trading Sadiq Bey. And like, if you do make that move, maybe do it in the summer when you can couple it with assets and maybe go get a better player. But at the same time, I understand the value of having an unprotected first round pick. But what do you think of that? Would you trade Sadiq Bey? Let me know in the comment section down below. But also, what did you think of Killian's performance last night? Because I was blown away. I've been loving Killian, and that's been my favorite part of this season so far. But with that, folks, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Sure you subscribe.